we've set out a plan to have a windfall tax on the oil and gas producers that are making billions in profits from these higher gas and electricity bills. And that could help fund a programme, which we've set out, a fully costed programme of £200 off bills for everybody and £600 for 9 million families, 9 million of those who are going to face the biggest hardship. But the government is making a choice not to do that. And it's really important to make this clear. They have made a choice. They have rejected that proposal. And as a result, what are they offering people? £150 now, but actually 600,000 of the poorest families are excluded from that help, and a loan in October. It is just hopeless, really. And it is so far short of the scale of the emergency that families are facing.
But, you know, you're being slightly playing fast and loose with the numbers there, because the government is adopting a £12 billion national insurance rise. Your windfall tax that you're very fond of would only raise £3 billion. So they're just choosing to do different things, aren't they?
Well, but then they're choosing not to help people on energy, Kathy. I mean, I'm not playing fast and loose. I'm being very clear. I mean, Rishi Sunak is providing people £150 council tax rebate, but it is not as well targeted as what we are putting forward, because hundreds of thousands of poor families are missing out. And then he's saying in October, when, as you say, prices may well go up again, you can have £200. Now, £150 facing a £700 rise for families. And I've been in my constituency today talking to the citizens' advice about the terrible hardship they're already seeing before this increase comes in. It just doesn't cut it. And it tells you whose side they're on, Kathy.
But my point is they're raising £12 billion from the national insurance rise, and your windfall tax only raises £3 billion. So they are choosing to raise taxes to pay for, the costs that have to be met.
They're choosing to raise taxes on ordinary families and tax work, and not to tax the big oil and gas producers that are making billions of pounds, where the head of BP says the oil and gas price rises are like the gas and electricity price rises are like a cash machine for his company. The finance director says we have more money than we know what to do with, and they are spending this money on share buybacks, dividend payments, and so on.
Right, so let's stick with oil.
In whose interest? It is about this, Kathy, this is a really important point. It goes to the fundamental question of politics. In whose interests do you govern?
Right, okay.
And they are not governing in the interests of the people, millions of people facing hardship from this energy bill price rise.
Right, and you're very keen to have a go at the oil companies. So do you back the Just Stop Oil Group, which has been demonstrating at 10 critical oil facilities, as they call it, across the UK today? They want to stop new oil and gas projects in the UK. You agree with that, don't you?
Well, look, our position on this is that we need a phased transition in the North Sea. We're not talking about turning off the taps, but if you're asking me, is the answer to our energy crisis new fossil fuel exploration, which takes on average 28 years between exploration and production? The answer is no. The answer is staring us in the face. The answer is onshore wind, solar projects, 600 projects which have been stopped, which have got planning permission, but the government is blocking. Now,
okay, on onshore wind. Let me ask on the onshore wind. Let me just ask about onshore wind.
Okay, go on. You go ahead.
Onshore wind. Would you have an onshore wind farm in your constituency?
Yes, I do already.
And you'd have another one, would you? You'd have another one.
Of course. There's a mythology here, Kathy, which is that somehow people are, the majority of the public are opposed to onshore wind. That's just not true.
So your constituents are happy with one wind farm, and they'd have another, would they?
People are absolutely supportive of wind turbines. Now, of course, some people don't support them. But the problem about what the government has done is that they've brought in a rule under the planning system that says there needs to be unanimous consent of the local community. So if one person objects, it can't go ahead. Of course, you need a planning process, but
you'd remove that, would you?
What is the bigger problem we face?
Would you remove the unanimous consent?
Yes, right. Definitely.
Okay, well, you've been very honest on that.
And that was, Kathy, just stop interrupting for a sec. The thing is that in 2015, the government had a different system in place, and actually we were producing quite a lot of onshore wind. And then David Cameron bowed to his backbenchers and decided to put a block on it. Now, as a result, families across the country are paying much more for their power than they would otherwise do so because onshore wind costs 4 times less than gas.
I know your time is short, hence I have to interrupt a little bit to
Don't
cut
worry,
you
don't
off in
worry.
your prime. But
Don't worry.
just you've been very
We've been
honest.
at this long enough to know that can happen.
Exactly. You've been honest. You volunteered your constituency for another onshore wind farm. That's great. But what about the idea that in the government energy strategy next week, they're talking about new nuclear plants, not just big nuclear plants, but small modular reactors, perhaps each one serving a town. Would you have a small nuclear reactor in your constituency
I think we've
too?
got to be open to nuclear. There's got to be a process, but I think we should be open to new nuclear. Yeah, I do. I think we've got to do it on the basis of the evidence. And the evidence is that the Climate Change Committee, the group of experts that look at these issues, say that we should have 3 new nuclear power stations, that we need those to support renewables. And I think we should follow the advice of the experts. At the moment, what we've got is the government careering around, desperately trying to relaunch its energy policy. Boris Johnson says 7. They say they want onshore wind. They don't want onshore wind. But let's follow the evidence. And I've always believed, I said this as Energy Secretary back in the day in 2008, 2009, new nuclear needs to be part of the mix.
Well, so you have, been very open, as I say, about the onshore wind and also perhaps, a small nuclear reactor. You think you might be able to win the argument with your constituents on that. So what about you personally? Would you, or are you perhaps getting a heat pump?
I will. We installed a boiler in 2009. The next heating system we install will be a heat pump.
You think you can afford it?
Well, exactly. I can afford it. But here's the thing. You see, can I tell you what I think the biggest threat to the green transition is? It's that government doesn't make the investment to make this affordable for people. You see, what is the biggest Cinderella of our energy policy? It's not having a proper energy efficiency program. Indeed, they've cut an energy efficiency program. And Labour has this pledge, a £28 billion climate investment pledge. Why is that important? Because it's about saying we are going to invest to make this fair for people, this transition. So we'll have energy efficiency. We will subsidise heat pumps. So actually they don't cost people the earth. Because the question people are asking about the green transition is it going to be fair to me? Now, the green choice is actually now the cheaper choice on onshore wind, on solar. Soon, potentially the lifetime cost of electric cars will be less than petrol and diesel cars. But government has got to play its proper role to make sure this transition is fair.
Ed Miliband, Shadow Climate Change Secretary, thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you let us know what you think? Would you be happy to have an onshore wind farm where you live? Would you be happy to have a small nuclear reactor, perhaps? I'd be interested to know what your take is. Text 87222, start your message with the word Times, or tweet us at Times Radio, or email studio@times.radio.